it was one thing that Hideo really insisted upon is that collaboration. And collaboration didn't mean having Saarinen hire Sasaki to do the landscape, and then Sasaki does the landscape in Watertown. But Sasaki goes to Saarinen to work with the architect to design a landscape. And so a lot of us spent a lot of time in the architect's offices. I've spent probably a whole year, I'm guessing, in Skidmore, Owings and Merrill's office in Chicago, and probably half of that amount of time in the New York office, working with Gordon Bunshaft. So we really did collaborate. I don't remember us ever doing, now and then perhaps, a bunch of alternatives and in private. It was always done face to face. In fact, a great lesson I've learned, and I've tried to share with every young landscape architect at Sasaki and wherever I teach, is the notion that there's no such thing as one alternative. I was working on Bell Labs, as it was, in Saarinen's office when he was still in Birmingham, Michigan. And Eero came into the room late in the afternoon, around 5 o'clock, and he walked around and looked at the one or two things I had on the wall. He said, gee, these look nice. And then he turned away and said, with his hands behind his back, walked out of the room, said, when is the landscape architect going to come and work with the architect? And then he walked out of the room, and I was ready to go home with my tail between my legs. But thank heavens for young Kevin Roche. At about 6 o'clock, Kevin said, let's go have supper. And I said, Kevin, I got to talk to you. He said, your boss or your partner just told me that I really need to come and work with the architect. I could tell he didn't like what I'd done. I was devastated. Tell me what to do. Kevin said, okay, let's have lunch and I'll tell you during lunch. It was a brief lunch because what he told me was what Eero likes to see are a lot of alternatives. He likes to see sections, he wants to see spot elevations, he wants to see different ideas. I stayed up, I think, until 5 in the morning, filled the walls with alternatives, and around 10 o'clock the next day, I was, almost afraid to see Saarinen because I was afraid he'd say the same damn thing. And I poured my heart into these studies. Anyway, he walked around the room, hands behind his back, walked back and forth, and he said, I think we should do this. I think we should do this one. And he walked out of the room with his hands behind his back. And what was even better, an hour later he came back and said, let's go have lunch. So he took me to lunch. And after lunch he offered me a cigar. I said, my God, this is in 24 hours I've died and gone to heaven. But I'm still alive. That's even better.